You've heard the phrase, "You are what you eat." But in 2025, doctors and recent research show that what you eat could mean the difference between feeding cancer or starving it. Research and results from clinical teams increasingly show that food and lifestyle can change disease risk and influence how well patients respond to treatment. Imagine that your dinner plate could quietly fight off tumors while you sleep. Sounds unreal, right? The catch is, only certain foods seem to trigger this defense system, and many seniors aren't eating them. This video will show how choosing the right foods, while being mindful of medications and age-related changes, can provide real advantages in the fight for better health. And as the latest numbers reveal, the stakes for seniors could not be higher. Cancer in 2025, hope hidden in the numbers. Cancer in 2025 is not only about fear, it is also about perspective. Cancer risk rises sharply with age, and by 2025, major U.S. reports estimate roughly 2.04 million new cancer cases nationwide. Research consistently shows that incidence and mortality increase as people get older, with adults over 70 facing the highest incidence rates of all. For families, this means cancer is no longer an abstract concept found in medical journals. It is a reality that touches grandparents, community members, and longtime friends. The numbers themselves are striking, but they also open a door to a more hopeful message. The patterns within those statistics reveal opportunities that seniors can act on today. Understanding these numbers begins with an important reminder. While aging raises the likelihood of cancer, survival is not determined solely by luck or access to the newest treatments. National cancer reports over the past decades show that overall death rates have actually declined, reflecting steady improvements in prevention programs, earlier screening, and newer therapies. At the same time, an aging population has meant that the overall number of new diagnoses remains high. For seniors, this creates a powerful reason to look beyond traditional treatment and toward supportive strategies that can improve resilience and quality of life right now. One of the clearest findings in recent years is that nutrition and lifestyle, once considered minor factors, are gaining recognition as essential elements of care. Clinical programs and observational data increasingly report that seniors who embrace targeted dietary and daily habit changes often experience better tolerance of therapy, fewer complications, and in some cohorts, reduced risk of disease progression or recurrence. Physicians are now working these considerations into conversations about supportive care, recognizing that lifestyle is not an afterthought, but part of the medical picture. The science behind this is more straightforward than it might sound. Cancer does not exist in isolation. It uses the body's own systems to sustain itself. Tumors thrive by stimulating blood vessels to grow toward them, drawing in nutrients such as glucose, and interfering with immune defenses. Drugs have been designed to interrupt these pathways. Yet research now shows that common foods contain natural compounds that influence these same processes. Certain vegetables contain substances that help reduce abnormal blood vessel growth. Fruits and teas supply antioxidants that protect against DNA errors. Whole grains and legumes feed gut bacteria that regulate immune response. No single meal acts as a medicine on its own, but over time, these inputs shift the environment inside the body in ways that make it harder for cancer to thrive. For many seniors, this raises an immediate concern that starting late in life is too little, too late. But national and international studies continue to emphasize that meaningful change is possible at older ages. Adjustments in diet and daily habits during one's 70s or 80s have been linked to steadier weight, improved energy, and reduced hospital visits compared to peers following standard diets. While these measures do not promise to cure advanced disease, they consistently deliver a clearer benefit: better daily living and fewer complications. At the very least, seniors who act on these choices are more likely to sustain independence and participate fully in family and community life. This idea, small, consistent actions producing measurable outcomes, matters because it shifts the story from fear of numbers to empowerment through behavior. Instead of seeing statistics only as warnings, seniors can view them as a blueprint for action. Eating nutrient-dense foods, integrating light activity, and monitoring weight are all measurable strategies that directly influence outcomes. These habits extend beyond cancer alone. They lower the risk for heart disease, support metabolic health, promote steadier sleep, and improve mood. The benefits ripple outward, reinforcing resilience across the body. It is natural to greet this message with skepticism. For much of the 20th century, the medical community itself regarded diet as largely irrelevant after a diagnosis. But the research base has changed. In 2025, large-scale studies track populations across age groups and countries, and the evidence points consistently to the same conclusion. Seniors who adopt thoughtful nutrition and lifestyle adjustments experience outcomes that defy the expectations of only a few decades ago. These improvements are modest compared to the claims of miracle cures, but they are real, evidence-based, and sustainable. To picture it plainly, if older adults are the group statistically most likely to face cancer, then practicing supportive lifestyle strategies is not optional but vital. And these strategies are widely accessible, not reserved for patients in large medical centers. A meal rich in vegetables, a daily walk, or a simple mug of tea might sound ordinary, but repeated consistently, they represent significant interventions in disguise. That is the hope hidden inside what first appears to be overwhelming statistics. Cancer may appear poised to affect millions of seniors, but the tools to influence those outcomes are often already within reach. Equally important, consistency is the deciding factor. Just as medications require steady dosing, nutritional and lifestyle strategies demand regularity. Seniors who benefit from these approaches are those who integrate them into daily life, not those who make temporary changes. Year after year, clinical data shows that a lifestyle woven into routine produces different health trajectories than a sporadic effort. For families supporting aging parents, this is both practical and encouraging because it suggests that simple home routines, cooking balanced meals, creating walking schedules, prioritizing rest, can truly alter what the numbers look like over time. In sum, the statistics of 2025 do not simply warn. Their real message is one of possibility. Cancer remains a growing presence in senior populations, but its impact is not fixed. Nutrition and lifestyle choices, supported by consistent evidence, are shaping outcomes in ways that traditional models once overlooked. For those who fear it may be too late, the data underscores the opposite. Every change made in the present can tilt the odds toward greater resilience and improved quality of life. And this perspective raises a deeper question. If lifestyle adjustments bring such measurable benefits, why do some seniors appear to recover or adapt more effectively than others, even when facing similar diagnoses or undergoing similar treatments? The answer lies in how the body's natural defenses shift with age, and why those defenses sometimes falter long before disease strikes. Why the aging body's defenses weaken. Some seniors in their 70s recover from illness or surgery faster than people 2 decades younger, while others struggle despite facing the same challenge. One person may bounce back from pneumonia in weeks, while another loses strength, spirals into complications, and never fully regains health. The difference comes down not only to genes or luck, but to how strong the body's defense systems remain. From birth, every person carries built-in defenses designed to recognize threats, repair damage, and maintain balance. These include immune networks that train cells to fight invaders, blood vessels that deliver oxygen and nutrients, and cellular machinery that scans genetic material for mistakes. In youth, these processes are efficient and well-coordinated. Fast immune responses, flexible circulation, and rapid DNA correction work together like a vigilant security team on constant patrol. But with age, cracks appear in this protection. Coordination slows, and weak points emerge. 3 shifts stand out most clearly. First, the immune system loses its edge. This is rooted in what's known as thymic involution. The thymus gland, which trains new T cells, shrinks substantially with age. As a result, fewer new T cells are produced, leaving older adults less responsive to new infections and reducing the way vaccines stimulate protection. This is a well-documented part of immunosenescence and explains why an older immune system may struggle to identify and attack cancerous cells early. The second shift takes place in circulation. Blood vessels gradually stiffen with age, reducing the ability to deliver oxygen to stressed tissues or clear away waste efficiently. Microclots are more likely to form, meaning tissues get less nourishment at exactly the times they most need rapid healing. For cancer, this stiffened circulation serves two roles. It weakens recovery from normal stress and simultaneously supplies tumors with pathways to draw blood, aiding their growth. The third change occurs in DNA repair. Every day, as billions of cells copy themselves, small genetic mistakes appear. Younger repair systems catch and fix these errors almost instantly, preventing them from spreading. But with age, repair slows and errors accumulate. A mutation that might once have been caught and deleted can now linger, creating the spark for abnormal growth. This gradual decline in repair machinery is a major reason why the risk of cancer rises with age. Each of these weak points, fewer immune reinforcements, rigid blood vessels, and slower DNA repair, create space for disease to take hold. Cancer, in particular, exploits them all. It avoids immune surveillance, thrives on redirected blood supply, and grows out of unrepaired mutations. Taken together, this explains why identical diagnoses in seniors often produce very different outcomes. Some bodies retain stronger defenses, while others face age-related declines converging at once. But the hopeful finding in the research is that these defenses aren't gone. They are slowed and misregulated. The good news is these systems can be supported, not necessarily restored to youthful levels, but improved with consistent lifestyle decisions and medical guidance. Evidence shows that even in later decades, defenses remain responsive if given the right signals. Exercise is one of those signals. Moderate daily movement, such as walking, stimulates nitric oxide release, which helps blood vessels relax and stay flexible. Studies in seniors show circulation can improve noticeably within weeks, which not only aids overall healing, but makes it harder for tumors to secure new blood supplies. Circulatory resilience acts on multiple fronts, reducing risks of cardiovascular events while also strengthening resistance against cancer growth. Nutrition exerts similar influence. Cruciferous vegetables, such as broccoli, contain sulforaphane, a compound shown to activate detoxifying enzymes that repair or remove damaged genetic fragments. In older adults, this pathway responds even after decades of wear. Tea polyphenols from black or green tea offer another example. They support immune surveillance, helping identify cells that deviate from normal. These are simple dietary choices that require no complex procedures, yet they activate defense systems often thought to be dormant in later years. Sleep is another underrated defense mechanism. During uninterrupted rest, the body performs much of its repair and cleanup work. Research shows that seniors getting fewer than 6 hours of sleep consistently have higher markers of inflammation, which blunt immune accuracy and increase vulnerability to cellular malfunction. By contrast, a stable sleep routine helps restore immune responses closer to those measured in younger adults. In practice, maintaining regular rhythms and reducing late-night stimulants becomes just as important as diet or exercise. The microbiome adds a final layer of interaction. Gut bacteria help train and regulate immune systems, but diversity drops with age, leaving fewer beneficial signals. Increasing intake of fiber-rich foods, beans, oats, apples, or carrots can expand bacterial variety, sending healthier immune instructions throughout the body. Clinical work has demonstrated that rebuilding a more balanced microbiome in older adults strengthens immune responses against abnormal cells, showing again that small, daily adjustments can shift the balance of defenses. This broader perspective makes one point clear: aging itself does not automatically erase defenses. Instead, declining systems respond more slowly and less precisely. The capacity to function, however, remains. Seniors can still build stronger muscles with light resistance exercise, create new brain connections through learning, and stimulate their immune system with good nutrition and healthy sleep. These are examples of reserve potential that can be tapped at any age. Take circulation as one more example. The cells lining blood vessels, called endothelial cells, release protective chemicals when prompted by movement. Gardening, stretching, or simple resistance work activates these signals. Within weeks, flexibility increases and blood vessels regain some of their capacity to deliver oxygen efficiently. This improvement helps against heart disease, but equally important, it denies tumors the easy growth environment they rely on for building blood supply. Similar measurable effects exist in DNA stability. Berries contain anthocyanins that shield DNA from oxidative stress and reduce mutation rates. Olive oil, a core part of healthy dietary patterns, contributes polyphenols that reduce chronic inflammation, allowing DNA repair to operate with more clarity. These results are modest compared to pharmaceutical interventions, but layered together, they consistently show protective effects. Many older adults react with doubt when they first hear that these everyday adjustments carry measurable impact. The perception is that decades of wear leave no room for meaningful improvement. Yet daily evidence across studies shows otherwise. Even into the 8th decade of life, new immune cells form, tissues respond to circulation training, and gut bacteria populations shift in response to food. Improvements may require support and consistency, but they do take place. What separates two seniors of the same age is how successfully these defenses are maintained. Health datasets demonstrate that seniors aligning nutrition, movement, rest, and microbiome support show greater resilience, lower recurrence of cancer, and faster recovery compared to peers who do not. Such differences underscore why aging should be seen as a stage of sensitivity, not inevitability. Recognizing this changes the narrative. Decline is real, but it is not terminal by default. Lifestyle-driven interventions cannot reverse the clock, but they can tilt the odds back towards stability. Seniors who take advantage of these accessible levers often see not just clinical benefit but practical improvements: better energy, shorter hospital stays, and steadier recovery. The body may not be youthful, but it is not passive. It remains prepared to respond when given the right input. These findings lead to a deeper realization. If age weakens defenses and lifestyle helps to restore them, what exactly are those defenses constantly fighting against? The answer lies in the thousands of cellular mistakes that occur quietly, day after day, errors that, left unchecked, can grow into something larger. Microcancers, the battles you never see. What emerges from that picture of weakening defenses is something both surprising and unsettling. Cancer does not usually begin as a sudden event, but as countless tiny trials happening inside the body every single day. This is where the idea of microcancers comes in, the battles you never see. Researchers, including well-known clinical scientists, often explain that as cells copy themselves, they make thousands of small mistakes daily. Many of these errors are harmless or immediately corrected, but some resemble microscopic cancers. They never appear on a scan, and most vanish before anyone is aware of them. Immune cells and repair systems quietly sweep them away. These microcancers are real, but invisible, like sparks flying briefly out of a fire. The reason most people do not get sick from them is because the body stamps them out before they spread. Importantly, it's not that every spark turns into a blaze. Almost all are extinguished quickly. Only when defenses fail does a cluster survive long enough to matter. Understanding this hidden struggle explains why the risk of cancer rises with age. When you are young, microscopic abnormalities are identified and destroyed with impressive speed. By the time someone reaches their 60s or 70s, however, immune systems are less vigilant and inflammation often interferes with surveillance. That creates small openings for a cluster of mistaken cells to slip through and begin recruiting nutrients for survival. Left alone, they may persist and slowly gather strength. It's a disquieting thought. How many of these small clusters exist in otherwise healthy people at any given time? The answer is more than you might imagine. They can appear in the lungs after inhaling pollutants, in the colon after exposure to dietary irritants, or in the breast or liver through years of oxidative stress. Normally, they vanish without notice, erased by immune patrols. But with defenses weaker and exposures higher in older adults, the odds shift. Over time, a few of these microscopic cancers avoid destruction and become more durable. That gradual buildup is what may later be recognized as disease. For this reason, cancer isn't best thought of as an invader that appears overnight. It grows out of years of early battles fought by systems we barely recognize operating quietly inside us. By the time a tumor is large enough to cause symptoms, it represents victories won by a handful of abnormal cells that escaped earlier control. The story highlights why everyday defenses matter as much as any advanced therapy. They determine whether thousands of invisible mistakes remain harmless or progress into something noticeable. At this point, the natural question is, can ordinary choices affect that outcome? Increasingly, research suggests yes. Certain foods contain compounds that act as allies to the immune system. They don't work like prescription drugs with a single precise target. Instead, they bolster natural defenses, sharpening the ability to recognize abnormal cells, modulating inflammatory signals, and interfering with the blood vessel growth a microtumor would need to expand. In that way, meals function not just as fuel, but as reinforcements that keep the security team more alert. Take mushrooms, for example. Studies have shown that compounds inside them support natural killer cells, which are specialized in detecting abnormal growths. Seniors who include mushrooms a few times per week often show stronger activity in these cells. Berries supply anthocyanins that shield DNA from further damage, reducing the chance that minor mistakes pile up into something larger. Green tea contains catechins that interfere with abnormal blood supply, slowing the ability of microtumors to build infrastructure. Garlic and onions introduce sulfur compounds that encourage the liver to activate detoxifying enzymes, helping sweep out toxins before they can trigger further damage. These foods alone do not cure anything, but when layered consistently into daily meals, they shift the balance back toward protection and away from persistence. Nutrition's role here is particularly valuable for older adults who may find intensive treatment difficult to tolerate. Unlike chemotherapy or radiation, these foods do not break down the body in the process of helping it. They provide quieter, sustainable support, accumulating small advantages over time. This means that decisions at the dinner table directly shape an older body's ability to erase mistakes before they grow dangerous. The gut microbiome adds another layer of defense. Beneficial bacteria produce short-chain fatty acids that regulate immunity. For seniors, a more diverse microbiome is strongly connected to better oversight against microscopic abnormalities. Feeding this microbiome through fiber-rich foods, beans, oats, apples, carrots directly reinforces its range. Without that diversity, miscommunications arise, and abnormal clusters can slip through unnoticed. Again, what might seem like trivial choices, adding beans to lunch, replacing processed snacks with fruit, actually govern whether micro-cancers are spotted or overlooked. Skeptics often dismiss the possibility that these daily shifts matter against something as complex as cancer. Yet the evidence is clear. The body already wins thousands of these microscopic battles each day without us noticing. Nutrition and lifestyle changes don't replace that fight, but they enhance it. For seniors, this is decisive. Highly processed meals, excessive sugar, and poor sleep weaken patrols, allowing sparks to linger. Nutrient-dense foods, stable routines, and restorative rest supply fresh equipment to defenses that still exist, even if slowed. The outcome is not seen in dramatic 24-hour turnarounds, but in gradual resilience where fewer mistakes survive long enough to grow. This repositions food in daily life. It is not just calories, it is instructions. Every serving communicates something to the body about how aggressively it should watch, repair, or resist. Over weeks and months, the accumulation of those instructions explains why one senior remains active and resilient while another struggles with repeated illness. The kitchen quietly becomes an extension of healthcare. So, while the realization that micro-cancers sprout every day may feel unsettling, it carries an equally important reassurance. We are not helpless. The body is already equipped to fight them, and the way we choose to support those defenses determines whether they succeed. A single portion of colorful produce, a cup of tea, or a fiber-rich side dish are not trivial. They are practical reinforcements. Every small act tips the balance toward survival of the defenses rather than persistence of the errors. That recognition leads directly to a larger question. If the body truly has the capacity to erase cancers at their earliest stages, what simple resources can strengthen it even further? And why do certain natural compounds succeed where advanced drugs still struggle? The answers may be closer to the kitchen table than to the pharmacy, and they begin with a handful of senior-friendly foods that scientists have studied closely. 5 senior-friendly foods that starve cancer. For decades, one of the big goals in cancer research has been to find a safe way to disable cancer stem cells, the small group of cells that often survive treatment, seed recurrence, and give tumors new life. Pharmaceutical companies have invested heavily in this search, yet no safe, definitive drug has emerged. The surprising twist is that molecules with this ability already exist in foods that are widely available and affordable. Seniors don't need exotic supplements or hard to find ingredients. Only a clear idea of which foods hold these natural compounds and how to bring them into everyday meals. The first food is soy. Researchers highlight genistein, a plant compound in soy linked to lower cancer recurrence in some breast cancer groups and associated with longevity in Asian populations where soy is a staple. Genistein works by interfering with cancer stem cell signals, making it harder for them to fuel new tumor growth. For seniors, soy can be simple and gentle. Soft tofu stirred into miso soup, soy milk in morning coffee, or steamed edamame for an easy snack. Silken tofu, in particular, is digestible and well-suited for aging digestive systems. Adding soy a few times a week means giving cells a repeated reminder to resist abnormal growth. Second are tomatoes. Their protective edge comes from lycopene, the bright pigment in their skin and flesh. Lycopene has been shown in research to reduce angiogenesis, the process tumors use to create abnormal blood vessels. Without new blood pathways, microtumors have trouble expanding. Seniors may find raw tomatoes hard to chew, but cooking actually increases lycopene bioavailability. A bowl of stewed tomato soup, tomato sauce simmered onto pasta, or pureed tomato in a soft stew makes this compound accessible and comforting. Meals like these combine familiarity with cellular defense, showing that protective foods do not need to feel foreign or complicated. Third is green tea. Its active molecules, catechins, most notably EGCG, block metabolism inside cancer stem cells. They silence growth signals and limit the ability of abnormal cells to establish themselves. Studies show even 1 or 2 cups per day maintains meaningful levels in the bloodstream. For seniors, tea brings hydration as well as these protective catechins. Decaffeinated versions still carry the active compounds, making them a safe option for those limiting caffeine. Tea also fits into a daily rhythm. The simple ritual of brewing a warm cup in the morning or afternoon provides comfort while quietly arming the body's defenses. Fourth are cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, which contain sulforaphane. When raw broccoli is cut or chewed, sulforaphane activates detoxification enzymes inside human cells. These enzymes improve DNA repair, clear damaged proteins, and restore order in cell machinery, functions that cancer often seeks to disrupt. Seniors may shy away from cruciferous vegetables due to digestive gas, but light steaming preserves sulforaphane while making broccoli easier to tolerate. Blending broccoli into a smooth soup or puree also provides a softer, senior-friendly texture. Small servings over time help maintain the housekeeping role inside cells, sweeping away damage before it develops into disease. The fifth is humble but powerful: black beans. Legumes feed gut bacteria, which produce short-chain fatty acids like butyrate that guide immune cells toward detecting and controlling abnormal tissue. Alongside this, beans contain polyphenols that weaken cancer pathways linked to inflammation and growth. For seniors on limited budgets, beans are one of the most practical tools available. Canned beans can be rinsed and mashed into spreads, stirred into soups, or served soft as a side dish. Thorough cooking makes them gentle on digestion while still delivering their benefits. They are filling, inexpensive, and provide steady nutrition, with the added advantage of stabilizing blood sugar for seniors managing diabetes. Together, soy, tomatoes, Green tea, broccoli, and beans offer a wide range of defenses by targeting different pathways. Soy disrupts cancer stem cell signaling. Tomatoes limit abnormal blood vessel growth. Green tea blocks metabolic systems that stem cells use. Broccoli pushes detox and repair functions back online. Beans strengthen the microbiome, training the immune system to notice problems sooner. Cancer itself is complex. It uses multiple strategies to survive and spread. These 5 foods mirror that complexity with a multi-angle response, something pharmaceutical teams have struggled to duplicate with any single drug. Of course, the message is not that anyone must redesign their diet overnight. For seniors, the greatest value comes from steady, repeat exposure. A few simple steps: soy milk instead of dairy, a warm cup of tea after lunch, tomato in dinner sauces, a serving of broccoli once or twice per week, beans folded into a stew, quickly build into a protective rhythm. Over time, the accumulation matters. The body benefits not from one giant dose, but from small, consistent reminders to refresh defenses. It's also important to note what these foods are and what they are not. They are not substitutes for medical care or cures in isolation. The right way to think about them is as support systems. As research makes clear, these foods help the body's defenses and work alongside, not instead of doctor-directed treatments. Clinical teams emphasize that nutrition enhances the environment in which therapies operate, improving tolerance and outcomes without contradicting care plans. This framing is especially reassuring for seniors worried about interactions or restrictions. Healthy meals nurture normal life while amplifying medical progress. Practicality further lowers the barrier. All 5 foods are widely available at standard grocery stores. None require specialized preparation. They can be adapted to suit older appetites, weaker teeth, or sensitive digestion. Tomato soup, mashed beans, pureed broccoli, soft tofu, and warm tea are as approachable as they are beneficial. Families supporting older adults can prepare these dishes with minimal cost and effort, creating a sense of comfort as well as health reinforcement. These compounds may be sophisticated in their biochemistry, but they arrive through simple meals that fit seamlessly on the dinner table. For older adults who find diet change overwhelming, the addition model makes more sense than strict restriction. Add soy without removing regular milk right away. Add tea without quitting coffee. Mix beans alongside a familiar main dish. Introduce broccoli in small amounts inside soup. By framing it as gaining new defenses instead of losing beloved foods, the shift feels easier, lighter, and more sustainable. Over months, new patterns emerge. The immune system, circulation, and repair machinery gain steady reinforcements, improving quietly in the background. Another meaningful point is the emotional impact of control. For seniors facing illness, treatment decisions often feel dictated by doctors and hospital schedules. Food choices, however, return some power to the individual. They allow people to be active participants in their own well-being, which improves outlook as much as physical resilience. A warm bowl of tomato soup or a cup of tea may not resemble medical equipment, yet they are forms of support just as real. Building cancer resistance into ordinary life provides immediate, tangible reassurance. Overall, these 5 foods reveal that daily habits can directly influence the stories that statistics tell. They harness nature's defense mechanisms in ways medicine is still chasing, and they make protective living affordable and practical for older adults. Most importantly, they shift the emphasis away from illness alone and toward resilience built meal by meal. But food choices hold a double edge. Just as some foods steady defenses, others undermine them. Eating the wrong kinds regularly erodes the protections the body needs most, and even the strongest systems can eventually be left exposed. Foods that quietly take your defenses down. Some foods, though familiar and comforting, quietly work against the very defenses the body depends on. These are not exotic or unusual ingredients, but everyday items that consistently sap strength when consumed often. For seniors trying to preserve resilience, it is just as important to recognize which choices carry hidden risks as it is to know which foods support health. One clear example is salt. Sodium remains essential for muscle contractions and nerve signaling, but modern diets easily overshoot safe levels. Processed and packaged meals, canned soups, and frozen entrees usually carry far more sodium than the body can safely handle. Over time, excess intake stiffens blood vessels, raises blood pressure, and burdens the kidneys. For an aging system where circulation is already less flexible, that added strain creates fertile ground for disease. Tumors thrive in environments where blood supply is reliable, and stiffened vessels make it easier for abnormal growths to tap into oxygen and nutrients. Because high sodium rarely causes immediate discomfort, the dangers accumulate silently for years, weakening the very systems needed to keep microscopic cancers under control. Sugar presents another frequent challenge. While occasional sweets rarely cause serious harm, consistent high sugar intake drives recurring spikes in blood glucose. That pattern contributes to insulin resistance and chronic inflammation. Cancer cells may take advantage of this environment because they preferentially use glucose as an energy source, and inflamed tissues become poorer at signaling defenses. Repeated sugar exposure may not only provide this potential fuel, but also distract immune systems that should be scanning for abnormal cells. Drinks, pastries, and candy are obvious culprits, but even sweetened yogurts, cereals, and packaged snacks add significant amounts when eaten daily. Instead of one large meal, it is often these repeated small doses that create steady pressure on older bodies already struggling to regulate metabolism. Processed meats add yet another layer to the problem. Sausages, hot dogs, and cured deli slices remain popular because they are easy to prepare and chew, but they come with established warnings. These meats often contain nitrites, which can convert into compounds that damage DNA and promote abnormal cell development. Major health organizations, including the World Health Organization, classify processed meats as carcinogenic, with evidence pointing to an increased risk of colorectal cancer from regular consumption. For seniors, the risks are compounded. Not only do these foods encourage inflammation and vessel strain, but they can also worsen digestive discomfort, acid reflux, or constipation. With the body already working harder to manage multiple medications or chronic conditions, processed meats add unnecessary stress that weakens defenses further over time. Salt, sugar, and processed meats share one key feature. They tend not to feel threatening in the moment. A ham sandwich for lunch or a pastry with coffee seems harmless enough. The problem arises in routine, when small exposures accumulate across weeks and years. For older adults, daily consistency is often what makes the biggest difference, both positively and negatively. Where protective foods build repeated support, these risk foods chip away at defenses meal by meal. Over long stretches, the body adapts poorly, leaving abnormal clusters of cells more opportunities to survive. Complications for seniors go beyond cancer risk alone. High sodium intake blunts the effectiveness of blood pressure medication. Sugar riddles steady management of diabetes, leading to fluctuating glucose levels that undermine treatment stability. Processed meats not only strain digestion, but also aggravate gastrointestinal conditions that are already more common later in life. Many of these interactions remain hidden until blood tests show worsening markers or a physician points out complications. What feels like manageable eating habits may, in fact, be limiting recovery or reducing quality of life. Adjusting these habits does not require perfection, nor does it mean abandoning familiar foods completely. Small, practical reductions produce meaningful change. Replacing one frozen dinner each week with homemade vegetable soup lowers sodium significantly. Swapping fruit for sweetened desserts just a few times a week helps smooth glucose levels. Choosing roasted chicken, beans, or eggs instead of cured meats eases strain on digestion and lowers nitrite exposure. Incremental swaps close the gaps without forcing rigid restrictions, making progress easier for both seniors and caregivers to maintain. For many seniors, flavor remains a key barrier. Salt and sugar add taste, and processed meats feel satisfying because they are full-bodied and savory. Fortunately, alternatives exist. Herbs, spices, and citrus brighten meals without sodium. Cinnamon or nutmeg on fruit supplies a sense of sweetness with no added sugar. Beans seasoned with garlic or paprika can be as filling as deli meat while providing fiber and supporting gut health. These changes preserve enjoyment rather than diminish it, which makes them more likely to stick over time. Evidence also shows that the body responds to these changes even later in life. It is a misconception that adjustments at 70 or 80 offer no meaningful benefit. Reducing salt lowers blood pressure within weeks. Cutting sugars smooths glucose levels and reduces inflammatory markers. Shifting away from processed meats decreases exposure to known carcinogens and lightens the digestive burden. Seniors who make these substitutions often notice improvements in energy, taste preferences, and digestion within a short period. The body may be older, but its capacity to strengthen defenses remains. Cost is another common concern, particularly among retirees living on fixed incomes. Processed products often seem more affordable, but many healthier alternatives are actually cheaper. Dried beans, seasonal produce, and frozen vegetables frequently cost less per serving than deli slices or packaged sweets. Inexpensive substitutions like these both support health and stretch household budgets, showing that better nutrition is not reserved for those with greater resources. For families providing meals, understanding these trade-offs helps reduce financial anxiety while improving daily resilience. Practical change works best when framed as addition rather than deprivation. Seniors often find it easier to add protective foods than to cut all risk foods at once. Replacing part of a meal step by step builds new habits gently. Bit by bit, positive changes accumulate and outweigh old routines. With each shift, defenses stabilize and become sharper, helping the body better manage the steady flow of cellular mistakes it must correct every day. When these swaps become familiar, the difference often extends beyond biology. Seniors report that taste buds adjust quickly, making low-salt meals feel flavorful after several weeks. Sweet fruits become more satisfying once sugary desserts are reduced. Subtle improvements in appetite, sleep quality, and mood often follow. These everyday gains reinforce the motivation to keep going, making healthier habits easier to sustain without constant effort. Recognizing that certain foods carry risks does not mean life must revolve around dietary rules. It means awareness, seeing that simple daily choices have measurable impact on circulation, immunity, and cellular repair. By lowering reliance on salt, sugar, and processed meats, older adults gradually reclaim defenses that age had weakened, creating a stronger foundation for health. But not every dietary risk comes from obvious culprits like processed or sugary foods. Even some of the healthiest items on the plate can turn problematic when mixed with the wrong medication. That puzzle, why nourishing foods sometimes clash with prescribed treatments, leads to another equally important issue for seniors: the Medication and Mealtime Balancing Act. For many older adults, staying healthy means keeping track of multiple prescriptions at the same time. This is where the challenge of the Medication and Mealtime Balancing Act becomes clear. Managing food and medicine may seem like two separate concerns, yet in reality, they often overlap in ways that affect how well either one works. The older a person gets, the more likely they are to be prescribed several drugs at once, and that overlap, known in research as polypharmacy, can create risks that sneak up quietly. Studies show that seniors are among the groups most affected by polypharmacy, often taking 5 or more prescriptions daily. Along with vitamins, supplements, and over-the-counter remedies, the list grows quickly. Each medication may be necessary for controlling blood pressure, heart rhythm, cancer risk, or pain. But the more drugs that are layered together, the higher the chance that their effects will interact in unintended ways. Nutrition enters the equation because food and supplements travel through the same digestive and metabolic systems, meaning they can influence how drugs are absorbed, broken down, or eliminated. Without careful coordination, the body becomes a crowded space where both medicine and meals compete. For many seniors, this situation is confusing because medications are handed out by doctors one prescription at a time. A new pill is added to treat blood pressure, another for cholesterol, a third for sleep, and perhaps another for pain. Rarely does a single physician oversee the entire list. Add in the fact that dietary habits change over time, and the chances of food and drugs crossing paths in unexpected ways increase sharply. The result can show up as fatigue, dizziness, digestive discomfort, or even hospital visits, with the connection to interactions not always recognized. This is why pharmacists play such an essential role. Pharmacists are trained to review complete medication lists, identify possible conflicts, and flag areas where food, supplements, and prescriptions may overlap. Regular medication reviews, sometimes called deprescribing sessions when unneeded drugs are safely reduced, help prevent complications from building over time. Experts recommend seniors bring complete, updated lists of everything they consume, not only prescribed drugs, but also over-the-counter items like pain relievers, allergy tablets, sleep aids, as well as vitamins and herbal supplements. Each of these can contribute to the body's internal traffic, and reviewing them all together gives doctors and pharmacists a clearer picture. What often surprises families is how something as simple as timing shapes results. Taking multiple medicines at the same meal, mixing them with supplements, or pairing them with high amounts of certain foods can reduce their effect or increase side effects. It isn't about eliminating healthy foods, but about lining up meals and pills in a more supportive way. Even modest shifts, such as spacing certain drugs away from nutrient-dense meals or taking them with water rather than juice, can improve tolerance and effectiveness. The key is predictability, keeping nutrition patterns stable so doctors understand exactly how to adjust medicines safely. In practice, there are a few simple steps that research highlights for reducing risks. First, keep a complete list of medications, vitamins, herbal products, and supplements at all times. Bring this list to every appointment, no matter which type of doctor is being seen. Second, ask the pharmacist to review it. Pharmacists often see patterns or risks that doctors prescribing only one medication cannot. This double layer of protection is one of the most reliable ways to catch small problems before they build into larger complications. For seniors managing cancer risk, the importance of medication, nutrition balance is even greater. Many cancer therapies place stress on the body's repair systems already. When meals unknowingly interfere with those therapies, even small adjustments can change results. On the other hand, when diet works smoothly alongside medication, it provides strength, stamina, and consistency, all essential for therapies to deliver their best outcomes. Families can take part by observing habits, noting how medications are taken each day, and raising questions during medical visits. Open communication not only reduces risk, but strengthens confidence that every effort is contributing to the larger goal of protecting health. It is also important to recognize that supplements, though marketed as natural aids, fall into the same category as medicine. The body does not distinguish whether a chemical originated from a pharmacy or from a plant extract. Both must be processed, and both can interfere with prescriptions. Seniors and their caregivers should always mention supplements when discussing medication plans. A pharmacist can check whether a supposed health booster actually negates or amplifies the effect of essential prescriptions. Skipping this step leaves the body exposed to unnecessary risk that is completely avoidable. Families sometimes feel overwhelmed by the idea of coordinating every pill and meal. But the balancing act is less about memorizing a massive list of rules and more about creating steady routines. Once a pattern is set, meals at predictable times, medicines taken under clear guidance, the system becomes easier to manage. Doctors can monitor blood levels more accurately, assess whether the medications are working, and adjust as needed. Instead of constant worry about food getting in the way, the focus shifts toward how diet and prescriptions work together to strengthen long-term defenses. For seniors already juggling financial, social, or medical stresses, this coordination step often feels like another burden. Yet it is one of the most impactful things they can do to protect health with minimal cost. It requires no new technology, no expensive visits, and often no extra medication. It requires clarity, knowing what is being taken when and alongside what. These are simple practices, but their effect is profound, reducing hospitalizations, enhancing quality of life and improving day-to-day energy. The wider lesson is that food and medicine live in the same system, not in isolation. Each supports or challenges the other depending on how they're combined. Successful aging, especially when fighting off cancer risk, depends on recognizing this relationship. Families and seniors who build strong lines of communication with pharmacists and doctors create safer environments where health can be managed with fewer surprises. And while coordination provides protection, another question naturally comes forward. Even when seniors know what to eat and how to align it with their medications, many worry about whether those foods are actually affordable. Concerns about budget are real, especially for people living on fixed incomes, and they are often the biggest barrier to turning knowledge into action. Budget smart, beating cancer without emptying your wallet. For many older adults, the practical question is not whether nutrition helps defend against cancer, but how to afford it within the limits of a fixed income. The price tags attached to superfoods promoted online or to long lists of organic exclusives can make the idea sound impossible. But the science shows a different reality. Some of the most effective protective foods are not only common, but also inexpensive when chosen in their simplest forms. Eating with this strategy in mind is about knowing where the real value lies and how to stretch it. Frozen vegetables are one of the easiest places to start. Many seniors assume frozen produce is a downgrade from fresh, but the truth is that modern freezing techniques lock in nutrients quickly after harvest. Research shows that compounds such as sulforaphane in broccoli, lycopene in tomatoes, and anthocyanins in berries remain intact even in the freezer aisle. A bag of frozen spinach or peas often costs far less than the fresh version and stays edible for months rather than days, preventing waste. Frozen vegetables also simplify meal planning. There's no pressure to cook them immediately, and they can be portioned out in small amounts as needed. For seniors who cannot shop every few days, this stability makes frozen produce both economical and practical. Canned beans are another low-cost staple with powerful benefits. Black beans, kidney beans, chickpeas, and lentils are all rich in fiber, polyphenols, and plant-based protein. Together, these nutrients reduce inflammation, support stable blood sugar, and strengthen the microbiome in ways that aid cancer defense. It can often cost less than $1, yet provides multiple servings. Concerns about sodium are easily addressed by draining and rinsing beans before use, which lowers salt while preserving their protective compounds. Adding beans to soups, stews, or salads stretches meals further, allowing seniors to eat well without leaning on more expensive cuts of meat. Cooking dried beans from bulk is even cheaper, though canned options remain an excellent time saver. Seasonal produce is another overlooked advantage. Prices on fresh items swing widely depending on the time of year. Buying berries in winter means paying several times more than when they ripen locally in summer. Choosing in-season vegetables and fruits reduces cost and often improves nutrient content, since less time is spent in transit. Farmers' markets are a useful resource for this. Visiting late in the day can lead to discounts, since vendors prefer selling the remainder at lower prices rather than hauling it back home. Seniors who pay attention to local growing cycles naturally spend less while eating food at its nutritional peak. Grains offer one of the biggest returns on investment. Brown rice, oats, and barley are inexpensive basics that cook into filling meals while supporting regulation of blood sugar and feeding healthy gut microbes. A bag of oats can provide dozens of breakfasts at very little cost compared to boxed cereals. Eating whole grains rather than refined versions helps defenses stay stronger, with the added benefit of promoting satiety so meals stretch further. For those with digestive issues, soaking grains overnight or cooking them longer softens their texture without diminishing nutritional value. A bowl of soft oatmeal dressed with fruit or cinnamon is an affordable breakfast that strengthens cellular defenses rather than weakening them. Prepackaged frozen dinners often seem inexpensive, but can be deceptive. Hidden costs come in the form of excess sodium, preservatives, and low nutrient density. Seniors may choose them for convenience, but the same ease can be achieved with batch cooking at home. Preparing a large pot of soup, chili or stew, and freezing single servings creates a personal stock of frozen dinners that are both affordable and nutrient-rich. This approach ensures protective ingredients such as beans, vegetables, and grains are built into meals, while also saving money in the long run. It turns one cooking session into several ready-to-go meals that can be safely stored and reheated as needed. Spices and herbs deserve attention because they add both flavor and protective compounds for very little money. Garlic, oregano, cinnamon, turmeric, and black pepper contain antioxidants and anti-inflammatory molecules that complement cancer defenses. For instance, curcumin in turmeric is studied for disrupting pathways tumors use to survive, while garlic supports enzymes that deactivate carcinogens. Buying dried spices in bulk stretches each purchase for months, and small amounts added daily cut down the need for salt and sugar. Even when used sparingly, seasonings provide real nutritional value at very little cost. It is easy to imagine that only expensive items carry protective powers. Drinks like imported juices, powders sold as supplements, or trendy extracts dominate marketing campaigns. However, research makes clear that ordinary foods, beans, oats, cabbage, onions, apples, carry the same cancer-protective compounds without the inflated price. Preparing simple meals, such as a vegetable-based soup or a tea brewed at home, provides the benefits without requiring extra spending. Accessible plant-forward foods, as researchers including Dr. Lee emphasize, are often more protective and more economical than heavily processed or packaged substitutes. Food waste is another area where savings quietly build. Seniors often find themselves throwing away spoiled produce, which effectively means throwing away money. Strategies like buying smaller amounts, freezing extra portions, or using peelings for soup stock minimize this. A head of broccoli offers multiple uses: florets for roasting, stems diced into stews, and leaves sautéed like greens. Every part used provides nutrients and extends the budget further. Freezing leftover batches of cooked food into single-serving containers prevents waste and guarantees future meals, combining affordability, convenience, and better nutrition. Local programs can stretch budgets even more. Food co-ops, senior meal services, and group buying clubs often provide discounted produce boxes. Some Medicare Advantage plans include monthly allowances for healthy food purchases. Exploring these options requires some effort, but the payoff can mean a steady supply of protective foods at little or no added cost. For seniors on strict budgets, joining such programs transforms nutrition from an unreachable goal into a supported, realistic lifestyle. The larger point is that affordable staples like beans, grains, and frozen vegetables are not second-rate substitutes. They contain the very compounds, polyphenols, fibers, antioxidants, that researchers identify as active in preventing abnormal growth and supporting defenses. At the same time, they are often cheaper per serving than processed convenience items that lack these benefits. The idea that prevention requires luxury brands or specialty supplements is misleading. What works most effectively is widely available and modestly priced. By building habits around these staples, seniors save in multiple ways: lower grocery costs, lower food waste, and fewer medical complications that can follow from nutrient-poor diets. The savings show up not only on receipts, but in steadier energy, stronger immunity, and reduced reliance on higher-cost medical care over time. Simple, repeatable meal structures, beans and grains as the base, frozen or seasonal vegetables layered in, herbs for flavor, create a foundation that is sustainable on both health and financial levels. Eating with a cancer-fighting mindset does not mean extra spending. It means smarter choices. Protective meals can be put together from affordable foods already available in most grocery stores. The key is consistency over perfection. Day by day, these foods gradually strengthen the body's natural defenses in ways expensive supplements cannot match. For seniors balancing health with budget concerns, this knowledge replaces fear with practical control. And just as food choices strengthen defenses, when made wisely, other daily practices can add to the same protective effect. Even small actions outside the kitchen carry measurable impact on circulation, metabolism, and immune readiness. Understanding those habits begins with a simple question. What if powerful protection could come from only a few minutes set aside each day? Daily habits that turn back the clock. Daily habits that strengthen the body do not require hours of training, expensive memberships, or strict routines. What matters most is repetition, signals to the body that arrive often enough to keep defenses alert. For older adults, these signals are best delivered through light, consistent actions that fit naturally into daily life. Researchers studying health in seniors continue to find the same pattern. Successful habits are not extreme. They are modest, sustainable practices that regulate circulation, support immunity, improve repair, and help cells resist age-related decline. Movement is perhaps the clearest example. Many seniors imagine they must walk miles or commit to high-intensity exercise to see results. In reality, even 10 to 20 minutes of gentle walking after meals produces measurable benefits. Circulation improves, blood sugar is cleared more effectively, and blood vessels remain more flexible. With better flow, defensive immune cells reach tissues more quickly, spotting and addressing abnormal growths before they can expand. For many, a short stroll around the block or down a hallway replaces stagnation after meals. For those with mobility limitations, alternatives exist. Simple seated marching, moving legs up and down from a chair, or using lightweight resistance bands provide enough stimulation to keep circulation active. The aim is not exertion, but regular motion that tells the body it must stay ready. Stress management is another defense that often goes unpracticed. Background stress feels permanent for many seniors, worry about health, finances, or independence. Yet elevated stress hormones gradually suppress immune accuracy and slow repair systems. Cortisol in particular blunts the body's ability to recognize abnormal cells. The good news is that modest stress-reducing practices fit easily into a day. Just 10 minutes of steady breathing, listening to calming music, or sitting outdoors in natural light leads to measurable drops in cortisol. Over time, these small reductions prevent constant strain from building on heart and immune networks. Controlled breathing or gentle meditation is especially helpful because it works even for those who are physically limited. Guided audio programs make the habit even simpler to adopt. Hydration may appear too ordinary to matter, but its role in defense is critical. As people age, the sensation of thirst becomes unreliable. Many older adults live with mild dehydration most of the time without realizing it. This thickens the blood, slows oxygen delivery to tissues, and increases strain on organs like the kidneys and liver. Tumors rely heavily on circulation to gather nutrients, so anything that makes circulation sluggish indirectly aids their survival. Aiming for consistent small amounts of water across the day creates a more stable baseline. A glass in the morning immediately restores what is lost overnight, helping circulation from the moment the day begins. Herbal teas and broths can also contribute to fluid intake for those who dislike plain water. Sleep may be the most underestimated habit of all. Nighttime hours drive repair, immune calibration, and DNA correction. Seniors sometimes assume restless sleep is simply part of aging, but chronic sleep loss prevents the body from completing its maintenance cycles. What many do not know is that the brain itself performs critical work only during deep sleep. Through the glymphatic system, a natural cleansing network, the brain clears away toxins and metabolic waste, keeping both cognitive function and immune vigilance strong. Without sufficient hours of uninterrupted rest, not only does concentration suffer but cellular defenses throughout the body weaken. Practical changes such as dimming lights, avoiding screens late in the evening, and setting a consistent bedtime routine help restore these cycles. To make guidance as practical as possible, seniors can think in small, repeatable numbers. 10-20 minutes of light walking after main meals. 10 minutes of breathing practice or calm activity to reduce stress. 7-8 hours of steady, quality sleep at night. Steady sips of water throughout the day, beginning with 1 glass after waking. Each habit on its own creates a modest benefit. Together, They form a feedback loop that reinforces the body's natural defenses. Walking controls glucose so tumors struggle to access energy. Stress relief frees immune cells to scan and clear abnormalities. Hydration keeps circulation smooth, carrying nutrients and immune messengers to tissues. Sleep ties everything together, repairing DNA and retraining immune networks while the body rests. Skeptics sometimes dismiss these habits as too small to matter compared to medical treatment, but this overlooks how biology operates over time. Therapies are designed to attack disease directly, while lifestyle gestures create the supportive environment necessary for those therapies to be most effective. A senior who manages stress may require fewer medication adjustments. One who walks after meals may see glucose spikes settle more quickly, reducing complications. Another who is consistently hydrated may experience less kidney strain from prescriptions. Those who sleep soundly withstand treatment-related fatigue better. Rather than competing with clinical care, these habits make it easier for treatments to succeed. Motivation, of course, remains a barrier. 10 minutes of movement may not feel significant in the moment. A single glass of water may seem inconsequential, but the cumulative effect is substantial. 10 minutes of daily walking translates into over 50 hours of activity across a year. 10 minutes of daily breathing quiets stress hormones thousands of times annually. One morning glass of water alone adds up to gallons restored each year, protecting circulation and kidney function. Consistency magnifies small choices into major differences. Families and caregivers often play a central role in ensuring these habits become routine. Seniors are more likely to stay consistent when actions are paired with connection. Walking becomes a chance for conversation. Shared hydration reminders encourage steady fluid intake, and a bedtime routine turns into a household rhythm. Habits that feel like community activities are harder to neglect than those seen as solitary chores. Adaptations keep routines achievable. Walking in a shopping mall during winter, practicing seated exercises when mobility is limited, or using calming recordings to guide breathing, all keep the principle intact without overburdening seniors with rigid rules. Sleep routines may benefit from comfortable bedding or small environmental changes, such as reducing noise or adjusting room temperature. The goal is not to copy a standard model, but to build reliable practices that suit individual needs. Ultimately, the message is one of control. These daily habits cannot halt the clock of aging, but they influence how fast it ticks. Repeated gently, they quietly preserve circulation, immune readiness, and repair systems. What often begins as simple adjustments, adding a short walk here, practicing calm breathing there, eventually reshapes the foundation of health. Over time, the benefits become visible. Lowered inflammation, steadier energy, fewer interruptions to daily life, and greater resilience against disease. For seniors facing uncertainty about illness, this recognition carries weight. Defense is not completely outside their influence. It is reinforced every day in small increments. Each habit builds protection not through dramatic effort, but through quiet persistence. The compound effect is real, and it explains why some older adults maintain vitality while others struggle under the same age and diagnosis. And it is here that another question emerges. With science pointing to the power of consistent daily practices, how do these ideas play out in the lives of real people? For those already diagnosed with advanced illness, can these choices still alter the course of health? Stories of seniors who reverse the odds. Stories showing what seniors have achieved provide more than inspiration. They demonstrate what happens when evidence-based care combines with daily choices. This is the focus of a growing body of research and real-world cases. Seniors who, with persistence and support, altered the course of illness in ways once thought unlikely. These are not miracle claims or promises of guaranteed cures. They are real, documented accounts that reveal how aging bodies can still adapt when treatment and lifestyle align. One of the most widely discussed examples comes directly from Dr. William Lee himself. He has shared how his own mother, in her 70s, was diagnosed with stage 4 endometrial cancer. The disease had already spread, and her prospects were serious. She received modern immunotherapy, but she also made consistent lifestyle shifts to reinforce her body's defenses, focusing on nutrition, maintaining physical activity, and supporting immune function. In careful stages, her scans moved from stage 4 to stage 0, a transformation her clinical team confirmed. Physicians attributed this result not to nutrition alone, but to the combination of an advanced therapy operating in a body made more responsive through diet and daily habits. Her story now serves as a real-life example of how medical care and lifestyle changes can amplify one another's effect. Another name tied directly to the evidence is Rebecca Devine. She was diagnosed with late-stage ovarian cancer and lived far longer than predicted after she combined mainstream treatment with food-based strategies designed to strengthen her health defenses. Her case has been documented and retold in discussions of patient-centered care, highlighting how senior patients who act to support their immune system and metabolism often tolerate treatments better, recover faster between cycles, and retain independence for much longer. Rebecca's outlook was not based on magical thinking. It was built on the understanding that food and daily patterns shape the environment in which medicine works. Beyond the individual cases, observational studies and clinical programs provide broader context. Research initiatives examining food as medicine, interventions in cancer care have found seniors who adopted plant-based proteins, hydration routines, and daily activity often showed improved immune responses within a matter of weeks. Some experienced tumor shrinkage, while others reached stability, meaning their cancer stopped progressing. Not every participant saw dramatic regression, but even those who did not had measurable improvements. Fewer complications, lower inflammation markers, and steadier energy levels. These outcomes matter greatly for individuals over 70, since preserving the ability to manage everyday life often makes the difference between living at home or requiring full-time care. The research further underscores the point that gains aren't defined only by tumor shrinkage. For many older adults, victories come in smaller but highly practical forms: reduced medication dosage, fewer hospital visits, restored appetite, or the ability to maintain independence. Clinical reports have described how better nutrition improves tolerance to chemotherapy, decreases side effects, and prevents interruptions in treatment schedules. These changes rarely make headlines, yet they translate directly into longer, steadier lives. What they reveal is that supportive behaviors, timely hydration, prioritized sleep, balanced meals, are not add-ons. They form the ground that allows effective therapies to work with fewer obstacles. Skeptics often caution against reading too much into individual stories, and that caution is warranted. Not every patient who eats cruciferous vegetables or drinks green tea will see tumors vanish. No physician who treats cancer would claim otherwise, but dismissing these stories entirely misses their larger significance. They show that human biology retains potential deep into older age. Even in the face of late-stage illness, seniors' bodies remain capable of recalibrating their defenses when given the right inputs. These improvements may not rewrite every outcome, but they consistently improve quality of life, which is itself a form of victory. The emotional meaning of these accounts deserves equal recognition. When seniors receive a late-stage diagnosis, the usual message is one of inevitability. Language about managing decline and preparing for the worst leaves little room for agency. Yet when those same patients learn about peers who improved stability, regained energy, or even reached remission, despair gives way to a different question. What can I influence today? That outlook matters. Scientists have measured how positive expectations correlate with lower inflammation and healthier immune activity. Hope does more than lift spirits. It registers in measurable biology. Doctors observing these improvements highlight that medicines target cancer cells directly, while lifestyle adjustments change the system surrounding them. Food, movement, stress relief, and sleep alter the blood supply, regulate inflammation, and sharpen immune surveillance. In simpler terms, medical therapies attack the weeds, and lifestyle turns the soil less favorable for regrowth. Seniors who support their bodies in this way provide medicine the context it needs to operate with greater success. When remission does occur, this supportive environment often plays a quiet but crucial role. Equally important, the changes that produce these benefits are strikingly simple. The seniors in documented reports did not rely on supplements costing hundreds of dollars or exotic imports. They leaned on ordinary meals: beans, soy, broccoli, tomatoes, teas, oats, prepared in forms they could sustain. They relied on regular walks, manageable stress relief practices, hydration routines, and attention to better sleep. These were accessible, affordable steps, not extreme interventions. The consistency made them powerful. Instead of focusing on deprivation, they layered healthy choices repeatedly until they became habits, and those habits gave the body steady reinforcement over time. The lesson running through these stories is not that diet or habits replace medicine. It is that seniors are not powerless against late-stage diagnoses. They operate in partnership with treatment, making medical therapies more tolerable, side effects less severe, and the overall body more stable. Outcomes may range from remission to stability to smoother daily living, but the direction is consistently better than what happens when lifestyle is ignored. Aging and illness may narrow options, but they do not close the door on improvement. Biology keeps listening, even at 70, 80, or 90. Such accounts matter because they confirm what research has shown at scale. Older bodies retain the ability to respond to better choices. They prove resilience exists within reach of everyday meals and habits, and they turn the larger message away from statistics and back to possibility. Seniors watching peers adjust their lives and gain unexpected time or freedom see new potential for themselves. The momentum shifts from resignation to practice. Rather than asking what must be endured, they begin to shape what can be maintained and strengthened. Looking across these patterns, the most encouraging truth is that the strategies are not rigid. They adapt to personal needs and preferences. No single food or habit guarantees the same effect for everyone. What matters is the cumulative environment created by a series of supportive choices. That flexibility makes the approach sustainable, turning advice into lived reality. Seniors do not need to adopt prescriptive diet plans that strip away foods they love. They can select from a wide variety of proven options and build their routines in ways that fit their own lives. This adaptability makes the approach durable and makes improvement possible even under challenging conditions. These stories carry one final implication worth underscoring. They show that protecting health is not just about medical charts or laboratory numbers. It is about living days with greater energy, confidence, and independence. It is about restoring the ability to garden, to share meals with family, to walk outdoors, or to sleep soundly without constant interruption from side effects. These are the realities that seniors value most, and they are as integral to the meaning of healing as remission itself. Together, these examples and studies underscore a truth that traditional expectations often overlook. Seniors remain active participants in shaping their own outcomes. Healing is not predetermined by age alone, and decline is not the only possible trajectory. By acting steadily on how they eat, move, and rest, seniors can tilt the balance of their biology in measurable ways, even late in life. With that in mind, the question becomes not only what has worked for others, but how each individual can decide which foods and habits will work for them in daily practice. Building your personal defense menu. Instead of asking seniors to follow strict diet rules or give up favorite foods, the idea of building your personal defense menu takes food planning in an entirely different direction. Rather than a rigid prescription, it becomes a flexible framework, a menu that each person designs using foods they enjoy, chosen from a broad list of protective options studied for their health benefits. This framing moves nutrition away from punishment or deprivation. Food becomes a tool that is supportive and adaptable, while still aligned with what research identifies as cancer-fighting and age-supporting. Many conventional diets unravel because they demand constant restriction. Seniors are handed a list of forbidden foods, complex recipes, or shopping lists that require cutting away half of what they like. A common outcome is temporary compliance, then frustration and abandonment. Meals turn into chores rather than sources of comfort. That sense of being scolded for what to avoid takes joy out of eating. And without joy, consistency fails. A defense menu avoids this trap by shifting the focus from what cannot be eaten to what can be chosen, with freedom to pick from many options. The body gets protection, and the person retains choice. Dr. William Lee recommends beginning this process with foods you already know and enjoy. There is no need to pursue exotic or expensive products. If tomatoes, soy, or oats are already familiar, those can form the foundation. From there, it is about gradually adding 1 or 2 new protective foods each week, making sure they are practical and palatable. This gradual layering is what makes the menu sustainable. The benefit accumulates over time as more of the body's defense systems are supported, but without overwhelming change. Importantly, there is no single list that must be obeyed, just a broad toolbox of options seniors can select from. One simple starting template makes this concept clearer. Seniors can begin a week by picking 1 cooked tomato dish, 2 legume dishes, 2 servings of cruciferous vegetables, and a brewed tea each day. This is not a prescription, but an example that reflects evidence-backed guidance. Cooked tomatoes deliver lycopene, legumes provide fiber and polyphenols for gut health, cruciferous vegetables activate detoxification and DNA repair pathways, and tea supplies catechins for immune support. Seniors can swap foods within each group according to preference, tolerance, or budget. For example, if broccoli is uncomfortable, cabbage or bok choy can cover the same category. If green tea is unappealing, black tea provides many of the same compounds. The structure provides clear direction without rigidity. This approach becomes especially helpful when considering the practical realities of aging. Some seniors have dental problems or difficulty chewing, so softer foods like soups, stews, or purees fit better. Others may have only weekly access to groceries, making frozen vegetables or canned beans the most reliable staples. Still others enjoy frequent visits to seasonal markets where fresh produce is abundant. The personal defense menu incorporates these daily realities instead of resisting them. A set of meals built around what is practical in one household may look very different than another, yet both can deliver strong defense compounds if chosen from the right categories. Variety across time strengthens this system. A menu is not about repetition every day, but about consistent exposure over weeks. Eating beans once, broccoli the next day, berries at another meal, and tea most days still delivers broad coverage of protective molecules even though no single day looks identical. This pattern prevents boredom and allows flexibility, while maintaining a steady stream of support for the body's circulation, immunity, and repair systems. To simplify shopping and planning, it helps to think in categories. A defense menu can be built by choosing 1 leafy or cruciferous vegetable, 1 antioxidant-rich fruit, 1 legume or grain for gut support, and 1 beverage such as tea daily. Within those categories, options can rotate. If kale feels unappealing, lettuce or cabbage work. If berries are too costly out of season, apples or pears fit in. If lentils are difficult to digest, split peas or black-eyed peas can offer similar benefits. Categories guarantee the function while allowing endless variation. Using this framework also reframes favorite meals into supportive versions. A dessert does not have to disappear. It can become baked apples with cinnamon or a small bowl of berries. A chili can shift ratios, more beans, less meat, while maintaining the flavors seniors enjoy. Food remains comforting but gains protective value at the same time. The defense menu succeeds not by replacing beloved dishes, but by reshaping them slightly so that every spoonful also reinforces the body's defenses. On a budget, this system is powerful. The same foods, canned beans, frozen vegetables, bulk grains, are not only affordable but also studied as protective. Seniors often find that meal planning around categories reduces waste and lowers cost compared with buying fortified processed foods. Nutrition does not come from high price tags, but from steady access to reliable staples. A weekly batch of lentil soup, a bag of frozen broccoli, a jar of oats, and a box of tea provide dozens of meals at very low cost. Consistency with these simple foods adds up to greater protection than occasional purchases of expensive specialty items. Examples illustrate how flexible the defense menu can be. Consider one weekly outline. Mornings begin with oatmeal topped with frozen blueberries. Lunches alternate between lentil soup, bean stew, or tomato-based vegetable soup. Dinners might include steamed broccoli with fish one evening, cabbage stir-fry another, and a chickpea salad on another night. Tea is brewed once or twice daily, supporting hydration alongside polyphenols. Across the week, the defenses are repeatedly engaged. Repair processes, blood vessel regulation, and immune monitoring all benefit. Another version highlights a different personality and set of preferences. A senior who dislikes beans but enjoys mushrooms and citrus might choose stir-fries with mushrooms, rice with sautéed cabbage, and oranges as daily fruit. Their meals look different, but they activate many of the same defense systems. Both examples illustrate the principle. The menu does not require uniformity, but instead ensures a personalized rhythm of protective foods. The defense menu evolves over time. Seasonal changes bring new options: berries in summer, hearty soups in winter, while health conditions or medications may sometimes require substitutions. If a new prescription limits intake of a specific food, another from the same category can easily take its place. This adaptability prevents the cycle of abandonment that rigid plans often produce. Instead of experiencing failure, seniors experience continuity, adjusting their menu as circumstances shift. Underlying this flexibility is empowerment. Designing a menu creates ownership. Food choices feel intentional rather than imposed. Each meal becomes an act of personal reinforcement for circulation, immunity, and repair. That psychological connection encourages consistency because meals are both enjoyable and purposeful. When enjoyment and purpose align, adherence follows naturally. At the same time, it is important to remember that nutrition works as a partner, not a replacement, for medical care. Seniors making meaningful dietary changes should discuss them with their doctor or pharmacist, especially when managing multiple medications. Coordinating food choices with medical guidance ensures safety and maximizes benefits, preventing unintended interactions while strengthening the larger care plan. The finished defense menu is not a rigid chart. It is a living tool that grows with preferences, family habits, and health needs. Instead of striving for flawless compliance, it emphasizes choices repeated often enough to influence biology. Each serving of protective food adds another layer of support. Over weeks and months, those layers accumulate into real impact. Thinking this way shifts the meaning of eating. Meals are not just about filling hunger, but about making deliberate decisions that reinforce the body's existing defenses. Seniors who embrace the menu approach discover that greater health comes not from disruption or denial, but from steady, inexpensive, and enjoyable adjustments layered into everyday life. This framework returns power to daily life. It means seniors can integrate protective foods without fear of failure or loss of joy. Building a personal defense menu is less about rules and more about equipping the body with consistent signals of support. And once this sense of agency is in place, the next step is recognizing why these choices matter most at this stage of life, when defenses remain ready but wait for the right tools to stay strong. Age does not remove opportunity, it shifts how choices matter. The body's defenses do not vanish with time, they remain present, waiting for steady signals from daily routines. You don't need to replace your whole kitchen or lifestyle at once. A single adjustment made today begins the process. Talk with your doctor or family about what feels realistic and build step by step. Science in 2025 confirms that lifestyle and nutrition support the body's defenses and can change outcomes, especially when coordinated with medical care. If you try one small swap this week, a cup of tea or a bowl of beans, share what you notice at your next visit. Hope here is not abstract. It is grounded in biology and in choices you can start making now.